Your pancreas is one of the most overworked organs in your body, and it never complains until it can't go on anymore. In my years of practice, I have watched patient after patient discover too late that the small organ tucked behind their stomach was failing for years. No pain, no warning, just silence. Have you noticed you feel sleepy and heavy about an hour after eating? Do you wake up with a strange mid-belly bloating that has no clear cause? Are you craving sugar more than you used to, even though you're eating the same amounts? Most people brush these off as normal aging. But here is what I want you to hear today. Your pancreas is whispering long before it screams. By the time blood tests show a problem, 60 to 70% of its function may already be lost. By the end of this video, I'm going to share one specific daily ritual. A simple two-step practice you can do at home using something already in your kitchen. That, when done consistently, takes a tremendous load off your pancreas every single day. But you must stay with me until the very end to hear it, because the 6 mistakes I'm about to walk you through are what give this ritual its power. Let's begin. Why does pancreatic health matter so much more after 50? Because 4 quiet changes happen inside your body, and the pancreas is the first organ to feel the strain. Change number 1 is beta cell aging, which means the specialized cells in your pancreas that make insulin slowly become less responsive over time. Insulin is the hormone that tells your body what to do with sugar. Research from the University of Pennsylvania has shown that beta cell function can decline by up to 50% between ages 40 and 70. Imagine a factory where half the workers retire, but the production demand stays the same. Something has to give. Change number 2 is exocrine pancreatic enzyme decline, which simply means your pancreas produces fewer of the enzymes that help you digest food. Picture a kitchen sink slowly losing water pressure. Studies from Mayo Clinic estimate that pancreatic enzyme output can decrease by up to 40% in adults over 60. That's why heavy meals feel heavier as you age, and why bloating after eating becomes more common. Change number 3 is increased visceral fat, which is the deep fat wrapped around your internal organs, including the pancreas itself. Imagine fat slowly building up inside the engine of your car. The engine still runs, but every part is forced to work harder. Research from Imperial College London demonstrated that visceral fat directly infiltrates the pancreas and impairs its ability to release insulin properly. This is sometimes called pancreatic steatosis, which simply means a fatty pancreas. Change number 4 is chronic low-grade inflammation, which is the body's gentle but constant immune response that increases with age. The pancreas is unusually sensitive to it. Even mild inflammation slowly scars its delicate tissue, making it stiffer and less efficient. Now, here is the hopeful part. Every single one of these changes can be slowed, and in many cases, partially reversed. The pancreas is one of the most responsive organs in the body to lifestyle change. It does not need expensive treatments. It needs to be heard. Let's go through the 6 most common mistakes I see exhausting the pancreas in adults over 50, one by one. A. The pattern. You eat breakfast, then a snack, then lunch, then a coffee with a biscuit, then a small handful of nuts, then dinner, then a piece of dark chocolate before bed. You think you're eating small and frequent, the way magazines told you to eat 30 years ago. You are unknowingly running your pancreas into the ground. B. The science and mechanism. Every time you eat, even a tiny snack, your pancreas releases a wave of insulin to handle the incoming sugar. A study from the Salk Institute in California followed adults who ate across a window of 15 hours every day. When those same adults compressed their eating into a window of just 10 hours, insulin release dropped, blood sugar stabilized, and markers of pancreatic stress improved within weeks. There is a medical concept here called postprandial insulin response, which simply means the burst of insulin your body releases after eating. When you graze all day, you trigger 6, 7, even 8 insulin bursts. Your pancreas never gets to rest. It is like asking the same employee to clock in and out every 2 hours, all day long, with no break. C. The consequence. Years of constant grazing exhaust the beta cells, which are the cells that make insulin. When beta cells get tired, they release insulin late or weakly, and blood sugar starts climbing. This is the hidden beginning of pre-diabetes, a stage where blood sugar is too high but not yet diagnosed as diabetes. By the time the diagnosis arrives, the damage has been building for years. D. The minor correction. Stop snacking between meals. Drink water. Drink unsweetened tea. Walk instead. If you must eat, eat a real meal at a real time. Aim for 3 meals, clean spacing, and a 12-hour overnight gap. But this is just the surface. The real ritual I'm saving for the end is what truly gives your pancreas the rest it has been begging for. Spacing meals is one piece. The next mistake is about something almost as common and more damaging than people realize. A. The pattern. Dinner ends at 7. You watch television. By 9, you wander into the kitchen for just a little something. Maybe ice cream, maybe a sandwich, maybe leftover pasta. You go to bed at 11, thinking you've earned a peaceful night. Your pancreas has another 6 hours of overtime ahead. B. The science and mechanism. Research from Harvard University on circadian rhythm, which is your body's natural 24-hour internal clock, has shown that the pancreas follows a daily pattern. It is most efficient at producing insulin in the morning and afternoon. By late evening, insulin sensitivity drops by up to 40%. That means the same plate of food that costs your body little at lunch costs it nearly twice as much at 10 at night. There's a term for this phenomenon, chronodisruption, which simply means eating against your body's natural clock. When you eat late, your blood sugar stays elevated for hours into the night. Your pancreas keeps pumping insulin while you sleep instead of resting. C. The consequence. Long-term late eating contributes to belly fat, fatty liver, fatty pancreas, poor sleep, and rising morning blood sugar. Many adults over 50 are baffled by their fasting glucose creeping up year after year, despite eating well. Late dinners are often the silent culprit. D. The minor correction. Try to finish your final bite of the day at least 3 hours before you go to bed. If you go to sleep at 10, aim for dinner finished by 7. Yes, even small snacks count. Yes, even fruit counts. Hold on. The one daily practice I'll reveal at the very end works at a level no single mealtime change can match. A. The pattern. White bread for breakfast, pastry with coffee, pasta for lunch, a glass of fruit juice, a sweetened yogurt, a handful of crackers. You think you're eating moderately because portions are small, but every one of these foods enters your bloodstream like a flood. B. The science and mechanism. Researchers at the University of Sydney developed something called the glycemic index, which is a measurement of how quickly a food raises blood sugar. White bread, sugary drinks, and refined cereals score very high on this scale, often above 70. When blood sugar rises that fast, your pancreas reacts with an oversized burst of insulin. The medical term is hyperinsulinemia, which simply means too much insulin in the bloodstream. Over time, your cells get tired of hearing the insulin signal so often. They start to ignore it. This is called insulin resistance, when cells stop responding properly to insulin. To compensate, your pancreas releases even more insulin, working harder and harder for less and less effect. A 2019 study found that people consuming the most refined carbohydrates had a 35% higher risk of type 2 diabetes compared to those consuming the least. C. The consequence. Decades of refined carbs and sweet drinks slowly burn out the beta cells. What starts as mild insulin resistance turns into pre-diabetes, then potential complications affecting kidneys, eyes, nerves, and heart. The pancreas is the canary in the coal mine. When it fails, every other system suffers. D. The minor correction. Replace refined carbs with whole, slower digesting versions whenever possible. Choose oats instead of cereal, whole rye bread instead of white, fresh fruit instead of juice. Always pair carbohydrates with protein, fat, or fiber. Never eat carbs alone. Pairing slows the rise in blood sugar dramatically. This adjustment helps, but it is not the main key. That comes near the end of this video, and it changes everything. What you eat matters. Now let's talk about something many people drink without thinking, and which damages the pancreas more directly than any food. A. The pattern. A glass of wine with dinner. Every night. Maybe a beer on the weekend. Maybe a small drink before bed to relax. You consider yourself a moderate drinker. You may not realize what your pancreas is enduring with each pour. B. The science and mechanism. Research from the National Institutes of Health has long established that alcohol is one of the most direct toxins to pancreatic tissue. When alcohol reaches the pancreas, it generates compounds called free radicals, unstable molecules that damage cells from within. It also triggers premature activation of digestive enzymes inside the pancreas itself. Imagine a kitchen suddenly catching fire because the gas got turned on inside the oven instead of through the burners. This is the underlying mechanism in pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas. Studies have shown that consuming more than 2 drinks per day, consistently, can increase the risk of chronic pancreatic damage by up to 40%. And here is what is rarely mentioned. Alcohol also raises blood triglycerides. High triglycerides are themselves a major risk factor for pancreatitis. It is a double hit on the same organ. C. The consequence. Chronic alcohol use after 50 is one of the leading causes of long-term pancreatic damage. Symptoms often appear only after 70% of pancreatic function is already lost, by which point recovery is much harder. Early signs are subtle: bloating, vague upper abdominal discomfort, oily stools, sudden weight loss. By then, the pancreas has been suffering for years. D. The minor correction. If you drink, give your pancreas at least 4 alcohol-free days per week. When you do drink, keep it to 1 serving with a meal, not on an empty stomach. Stay well hydrated. Add an extra glass of water for every drink. This is a real correction. But the complete daily ritual I'm building toward at the end is what gives your pancreas a true chance to heal. A. The pattern. Lunch is 15 minutes. Dinner is 20. You're scrolling on your phone or watching the news. You barely chew. You swallow. The food is gone before your stomach has a chance to register that it's eating. B. The science and mechanism. Researchers at Hiroshima University in Japan studied eating speed and metabolic health in over 1,000 adults. People who ate quickly were nearly 5 times more likely to develop metabolic syndrome, which is a cluster of conditions including high blood sugar, high blood pressure, and excess belly fat, compared to slower eaters. Why does eating speed matter so much for the pancreas? Because chewing actually begins digestion. Saliva contains enzymes called salivary amylase, which simply means a digestive enzyme that starts breaking down starch in your mouth. When you don't chew enough, your pancreas has to do all the work that your mouth was supposed to do first. It also has to release enzymes faster and in greater quantities to compensate. Chewing each bite 20 to 30 times reduces this load dramatically. There is also a fullness signal called leptin response, which is the hormonal signal that tells your brain you've eaten enough. This signal takes about 20 minutes to register. If you finish your meal in 10, you've already overeaten before your brain even noticed. C. The consequence. Years of fast eating contribute to chronic overeating, weight gain, fatty pancreas, and exhausted enzyme production. Many older adults experience worsening bloating, indigestion, and food intolerance, and rapid eating is often the unexamined cause. D. The minor correction. Set down your fork between every bite. Chew until your food is nearly liquid before swallowing. Aim for at least 20 minutes per meal, no matter how small. Eat with no screens, just food, slowness, and breath. Stay with me. What I share in the final minutes uses something already in most kitchens, and the science behind it is remarkable. Now, let's talk about what you do, or don't do, right after eating. This may be the most overlooked mistake of all. A. The pattern. You finish dinner, you sink into the couch, you watch a show, you scroll your phone. You feel sluggish, but you tell yourself you've earned the rest. Meanwhile, your blood sugar is spiking sharply, and your pancreas is scrambling. B. The science and mechanism. A landmark study from the University of Otago in New Zealand examined what happens when adults walk for just 10 minutes after each meal, compared to walking once a day for 30 minutes. The post-meal walking group showed significantly lower blood sugar peaks, up to 22% lower than the single walk group. Why? Because of something called muscle glucose uptake, which is the ability of your muscles to absorb sugar from your bloodstream without needing as much insulin. When you walk after a meal, your muscles act like sponges, pulling sugar out of your blood and using it for energy. This means your pancreas does not have to release as much insulin to handle the same meal. It is one of the most powerful, free pancreatic protections known to science. C. The consequence. Sitting immediately after meals, especially after dinner, leads to higher post-meal blood sugar peaks for hours. Over decades, those repeated peaks slowly wear down the pancreas, accelerate fatty liver, and contribute to belly fat. Many adults over 50 unknowingly trade 10 minutes of evening rest for years of pancreatic decline. D. The minor correction. Walk for just 10 minutes after each main meal, around the block, around the yard, around the living room. Pace doesn't matter. Movement does. This is a small step. The deeper ritual, the one that retrains your pancreas day by day, is exactly what I'm about to reveal. Now, step back with me for a moment. Look at all 6 mistakes side by side. Constant grazing, late-night eating, refined carbs, daily alcohol, fast eating, sedentary after meals. These are not 6 separate problems. They are 6 pressures on the same fragile organ. Your pancreas is like a small drum. Every meal taps it once. If your taps are gentle and spaced, the drum lasts a lifetime. If your taps are loud, fast, and constant, the drum eventually cracks. Here is what makes it dangerous after 50. Each mistake amplifies the others. Late eating worsens insulin resistance. Insulin resistance worsens cravings. Cravings increase grazing. Grazing prevents recovery. Alcohol compounds inflammation. Fast eating increases enzyme demand. Sitting after meals leaves blood sugar sky high for hours. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle, and that cycle is what ages the pancreas faster than the calendar ever could. But the cycle is breakable. Here is my engagement question for you today. Of the 6 mistakes I just walked you through, which one are you most guilty of? And how long have you been doing it without realizing the cost? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one personally. You stayed with me. Thank you. Now I am going to give you what I promised at the very start. The single most powerful daily ritual I have ever recommended for pancreatic health in adults over 50. I call it the Vinegar Walk Ritual. It costs nothing. It takes 10 minutes, and it works on two of the deepest causes of pancreatic stress at the same time. Here is exactly how to do it. Part 1. The Vinegar Primer. 10 to 15 minutes before your largest meal of the day, usually lunch or dinner, do this. Take 1 tablespoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. Mix it into a full glass of cool water. Drink it slowly through a straw, if possible, to protect tooth enamel. That's it. Why this works. A series of studies from Arizona State University, led by Dr. Carol Johnston, found that 1 to 2 tablespoons of vinegar before a meal can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by about 20 to 30%. The active compound is called acetic acid, which simply means the natural acid responsible for vinegar's sour taste. Acetic acid slows the rate at which your stomach empties food into the small intestine. That means sugar enters your bloodstream more gradually, and your pancreas does not have to release a sudden surge of insulin. It is like turning the volume of an alarm down by 1/3. Your body still hears the message, but the strain is much lower. Part 2. The 10-minute post-meal walk. As soon as you finish eating, get up. Walk for 10 minutes at a comfortable, steady pace. Around your house, around the block, on a treadmill if the weather is bad. The pace doesn't matter. The movement is what counts. Why this works. The University of Otago research I mentioned earlier demonstrated that even 10 minutes of walking activates muscle glucose uptake. Your muscles literally start absorbing sugar from your blood like sponges. When combined with the vinegar primer, the two effects stack on top of each other. The vinegar slows the rise. The walk lowers the peak. Together, they reduce the workload on your pancreas with every single meal. Do this for your largest meal of the day, every single day, for 90 days. Most people who follow it consistently see remarkable improvements in their fasting blood sugar, energy levels, post-meal bloating, and afternoon cravings. Your pancreas will quietly thank you. Here is your full action plan, simplified into clear steps. Stop snacking between meals. Drink water, tea, or take a short walk instead. Finish dinner at least 3 hours before bedtime. Give your pancreas a real overnight rest. Replace refined carbs with whole, fiber-rich versions. Pair carbohydrates with protein or fat at every meal. Limit alcohol to a few servings per week. Drink only with food and never on an empty stomach. Slow down your meals. Chew each bite thoroughly and aim for at least 20 minutes per meal. Walk for 10 minutes after every main meal. Movement after eating is one of the most powerful pancreatic protections known. Apply the Vinegar Walk Ritual daily. 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in water before your largest meal, followed by a 10-minute walk after. None of this requires an expensive prescription. What it requires is consistency. I want to leave you with something I tell every patient who walks into my office worried about their blood sugar. Your pancreas is not your enemy. It is your most patient ally. It has been working for you, silently, every single day of your life, and it asks for very little in return. Just a little spacing, a little movement, a little respect. Aging is not a life sentence. It is a conversation between you and your body, and your pancreas has been speaking quietly for years, hoping you would listen. Today, you finally did. How old are you, and which point surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this helped you, please subscribe so I can keep sharing the kind of guidance that rarely fits into a standard appointment. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Consult a healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or health routine.